What is going on, everybody? We are back for another episode of the ABJ Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Blackwell Jr. For episode 45, Dylan Mesh. This is going to be really fun. So since starting this journey of content creating and professional wrestling, I haven't had a lot of home roots come back and kind of attach themselves to me in this business. And my guest here today, we were at a show and we were talking. He's like, I think I know you from somewhere. And we end up finding out we were from the same, essentially, high school and stuff like that. So it's going to be fun to talk about that kind of stuff. But that'll be in a moment. I just want to get through some of our housekeeping stuff. If you check the links below, you'll find ways to support myself as well as my guests. There are t-shirts, Patreon available, ways to support the podcast. I can't really get into it yet, but there is something really big coming for me. We'll say in about 5 months. So anything you can do for buying a t-shirt will help fund that. I'll talk more details when it gets a little closer. I don't want to shoot my shot yet in case something doesn't go through, but it's going to be pretty dope. I think we're going to make a special t-shirt for it as well. And all the funds for that are going to go towards that, we'll just say trip. But also what you guys can support is our sponsor to this podcast. The sponsor of the podcast is Elevation 1470. Elevate your style with Blackwell's brand 1470. For Elevation 1470 is a reinventing style, bringing traditional and nostalgic apparel to the Blackwell and surrounding areas of School County, Pennsylvania. They pride themselves in hometown heritage and community. You can find them at elevation1470.com for the latest traditional and nostalgic styles and clothing of School County, Pennsylvania. So if you're from the area, they make a really cool Schuylkill Mall t-shirt and hoodie. If you know, you know, they make a lot of really cool, like Skook inspired clothing. I you know me, I love supporting my hometown area. So they're a really cool sponsor. Go check out their website. That is also linked below. I think that's pretty much all I got. So so without further ado, let's bring in our today's guest, Dylan Mesh. What's going on, brother?
Oh, this and that. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Let's just get out of the way. Go Bears, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, go Bears. Yeah. Golden Bears, baby. Well, actually, this blanket, you can't see it because my dog roughs it up, but it's like an old school, once again, Schuylkill Mall, an old school Schuylkill Valley Sports. Remember they used to sell those like throw blankets that you would like take to a football game, and they had one for every school. I still have a Monty area Golden Bears one that I bought for some strange reason when it was going out of sale. So that's like a 20-year-old blanket, still sits on my
that's what you did. Whatever school you went to the mall, you bought the throw blanket, you bought those weird like squishy like pad things so you could sit on the metal bleachers and not have hemorrhoids by the end. You threw the blanket over you because it was always freezing later on in the season, and that was just what everybody did. It was a beautiful tradition.
Yeah, and we had a little bit of a hometown advantage being from Monty area. So our stadium was literally a rock throw. If you went to the one side of the stadium and threw a rock, you could throw it right into a sewage treatment plant. So in a nice hot summer day when you're playing football, the other teams would be dying and throwing up, and we would just be seasoned veterans. You had to chew your air before you breathed it. It was crazy.
It was so bad. Those games were rough in the summer, and I ran track. So in the spring, like as soon as the weather started to get warm, it would rise up like from underneath that rubber track. And like the last thing that you want when you're like dying and you like need a breath is to like just take in a deep breath and just all you get is just crap.
Yeah,
it was the worst. But
eating a shit sandwich while you're dying of air.
For real, man. But like it toughened us up, so it's all good.
Do you remember the track before the rubber track?
Yeah, the gravel.
Just the gravel rock. Yeah, like you fall on that track, you need to go to the hospital.
Yeah, and when I was still like as late as 2012, Shenandoah still had that, so that says a lot about them. Y'all can kick rocks.
Yeah. Good. F Shenandoah. Actually, I don't mind Shenandoah. I coached soccer there for a long time, so I have a little soft spot for Shenandoah.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of good people there.
Yeah, so I believe we met at Hamburg, and I believe you came up to me and you're like, "Do you know who I am?" And I was like, "I'm not sure." And you're like, "You graduated at Monty area, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, so did I." And I was like, "What's your last name?" And then you told me. I don't want to give out your government name, wrestling shoot, brother. But you told me, and I was just like, "Yeah." I said I graduated with that last name, and then we kind of put everything together, and so it is kind of dope, man. Like, even though we didn't connect through our years of living in that community that we're both in the same industry, work for the same companies, but we still have the same roots of the 570 and Monterey area and under our belts.
Yeah. So the way I remember it, my memory is shot from being, punched in the head all the time. But I remember meeting you first in Williamstown, at the Williamstown, New Jersey, at the H2O Center in 2021.
Oh,
which that made it crazier for me because we were like, that's like 3 hours away from home, and we're just talking. I'm like, wait a minute, you grew up where? And then we just started connecting all those dots. I was like, all right, well, that's absolutely insane. But I'll drop another one on you. So after I met you and I just started telling, the few people that still talk to me back home about all that, just some of the old heads, what I realized, again, without having to give out names, my mom babysat your dad when he was but a youngin'. So
Jesus,
yeah, the connection is
that is about as school county as you can get. Yeah, you were. So to kind of break, I always try to tell people like our environment of what we grew up in, and it's so different and vast and so strange, but it's just like if you didn't grow up in a small coal region town in School County, Pennsylvania, you just can't explain that to anybody. But yeah, everybody knew everybody. You probably have all dated the same girls. Everybody knew what underwear you wore that day. If you were the kid that pissed his pants in second grade, you were the kid who pissed his pants your entire, like that was your staple. Like you graduating class was like what, 45 kids? like yeah, it was
somewhere around there.
Yeah, it was a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. Oh my God. No, that's exactly right. I've tried to explain it to people and they say that it sounds like something out of a Stephen King book. So I give up after that. But no, you're entirely right. It was, everybody knew everything. Everyone knew everyone. And you got like all the good and bad out of that. It was a real double-edged sword, but yeah, I wouldn't have had it any other way, honestly.
Same here. Same, dude. I that have mentally and physically toughened me up growing in School County, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Like if you grew up in this area and didn't get at least 8 fist fights, you probably didn't live life properly.
Oh God,
yeah. Yeah, but and Caitlin here in the chat, 570 for life. I agree. Caitlin.
Hell yeah.
Actually, while we're you said you have some other weird fun facts about the area that you wanted to drop on me.
Oh, the babysitting one, that was the biggest one.
Oh, that was that okay.
Yeah, so, of all the weird connections that I've had with people back there, that's probably the strangest one. Yeah, just people being like, "Oh yeah, your mom babysitting." Oh, okay, all
right. So here, this is what if you guys are interested, I do. Like I said, I do have merchandise, but I always try to keep my merchandise in the form of School County and honoring that. You've seen the license plate one, right? The Keystone. Did you see this one?
I did. I popped so huge for that. I sent that to If you've
for the people listening audio later, it is a Gears iced tea container. If you don't know what Gears iced tea containers are, that is like our hometown drink. Like that is the nectar of the gods. And then they even added something that's a little more the south of the mountain. There's a sticker on it that's normally the paid sticker, but we put the I Heart ABJ sticker on there. We didn't really have paid stickers in School County because you just walked in and grabbed one. And then there's a variant. Did you see the variant?
No.
If you're going for
chocolate milk. Please tell me it's a chocolate. Yeah,
it is the chocolate milk.
It's the best chocolate milk I've ever had in my life to this day. Like nothing comes close.
I fight with people all the time about that there's no better chocolate milk than Gears chocolate milk, and it's a fight everywhere I go. But I'm getting stickers made of those Cheer chocolate milks and iced tea ones and just slapping them everywhere, because I think when people like, oh, there's Gears iced tea stickers, and they go, I'm like, what the fuck is ABJ podcast? And they're like, oh, it's a kid from area. And then there's also the 570.
That's one. A classic.
Yeah, I love that to death. So I do also have a Lord Chesterfield ale logo coming very soon, because I love Yingling and I love Chetty. That's my favorite beer. So that's also coming. So there are definitely more 570 inspired logos coming to the podcast. But if you know, you know. If you didn't drink chocolate milk at lunch, you were a loser. Bree's got it all figured out. ABJ Chalky Milk. There it is. Yeah, it's a hot thing. So if you want a t-shirt of it, go grab it. And it helps my trip come in a couple months. But yeah, I love, like I said, the 570, man. So I was the last graduating class. You never experienced the school on the hill, unfortunately.
Nope.
I was the last class to graduate out of that, and then we were the first class to enter the new school as, I believe, freshmen.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
I
crazy.
grew up with that school being a bed factory. Like, so the old school was the elementary, and then we walked past a bed factory every day, and then the bed factory turned into the new school.
Yeah, so I'm old enough to remember like being in kindergarten. And first of all, I remember being at recess and like all the playground equipment was like wooden and splintered.
Yeah.
And like even as a 5-year-old, I'm like, this isn't even remotely safe. But I'm like, well, what the hell? Gotta play. You gotta hang out. But I do remember that like just a rundown factory being surrounded by a barbed wire fence, right by where children
rusty fence. And all the fence kicked up this way, so if you ran by it, it would just cut your ankles off.
And I'm sure you had this happen too. Like there were like 4 different occasions where somebody like kicked a ball up over the fence or something. I'm like, all right, well, that thing's gone. It doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. Whatever.
It's gone forever.
It's gone.
Yeah, if the requirements to be a nurse in Monte area elementary school is can you give a headache tablet, can you give Pepsid, and can you remove splinters? That was essentially all that nurse ever did. Tetanus builds character. You are not wrong at all.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so let's rewind a little bit. We're already talking about our youth and getting splinters and tetanus from the same thing. We're probably blood brothers and don't even know it because we probably shared the same blood of the rest of the Monte area kids of all bleeding all over that wooden playground equipment. But when did you become a wrestling fan? When did you get bit by the wrestling bug?
So, I mean, I was born in 94. So like by the time I was old enough to like start like generating memories, like that 5-6-year-old time frame, like it was the late 90s. And like wrestling was just part of the American conscience, like it was everywhere. Like I knew everybody's, like I knew all the stars' names, like without even really knowing what was going on. So I feel like I was just kind of born in like a very weird like time frame where even if you weren't a fan, like you knew everything, you were there for all that. But like I remember I didn't really like get into it and become like diehard until specifically Judgment Day 2002 WWF's pay-per-view was my parents were divorced and my dad had a weekend visitation, and his way of just getting me to sit down and shut up and stay still was to buy the pay-per-views. And that was the first one that he got.
Cage, Stone Cold Vince?
No, that one, Judgment Day 2002 had Hell in a Cell in it, which is probably what you're thinking of, but it was Jericho and Triple H, and I remember like they bled a lot, and I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, which probably explains a lot of my my tendencies now that I just kind of gravitate towards violence and all that. But like after that, like no, I was absolutely obsessed.
Yeah, the our school, fun fact, going back to that and professional wrestling, wrestling t-shirts and South Park t-shirts were banned at Monte area because either you had a South Park t-shirt that was inappropriate or everybody in school was telling each other to suck it, and then that was that cut everything off quick. They're like, yo, that's done, get that out of here. So we weren't allowed to wear wrestling t-shirts. Yeah, hell yeah t-shirts, Stone Cold t-shirts, Attitude Era stuff, all banned. Like that was the only thing they cared about. Yeah, we weren't. Another weird thing too, we weren't allowed to wear, we called them rock pants, but remember the Adidas track pants that buttoned off and you can just snap them off? Yeah, if you were dumb enough to wear those at school, you didn't have pants walking down the hallway because somebody would run up and grab one end and someone would grab the other, and your pants would go off and you'd be standing in the hallway with no pants on. That was another Monte area trope. So go Bears.
I love that.
We were savages back in the day, man. It was I don't know how half the people aren't in jail. Here you go. Pete said, my school banned one shirt, a dude with no head holding a sign that said, we'll work for head. Yeah. Al Snow got a lot of kids detention too, because what did everybody want? Head was a chant that we used to do a lot as well. Yeah. So you growing up watching, who were some people that you gravitated to that were like some of your favorites when you watched?
Again, just because like I was like as young as possible, where like I could start like getting an impression of things, like everybody who was on top. So like it was Stone Cold and The Rock and Goldberg and Hogan. But I remember like Triple H, because he would swing a sledgehammer at people, and again just like gravitating towards the violence of it all, because that's what they were all about. Like Triple H was my guy, And then like when he like beat the dog shit out of Shawn Michaels and they started that feud and he turned heel, I didn't understand that because I was too young. So like I
Yeah.
cheered for him from like 2002 to 2004. Like when everybody hated him real bad, I still liked him because I didn't get it because he was still just swinging a sledgehammer at people and making them bleed.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. It's just really funny how sometimes like the lack of context in wrestling just kind of makes things better. But
yeah, I always gravitated to heels too. I never got into the babyface.
it was so weird. It's like I didn't understand. Like, oh, we're like not supposed to like him. Oh, that's like a terrible thing to do. Went right over my head. Again, probably says a lot about me. But him and like Undertaker, because like I don't know, just something about the way that they carried themselves just kind of really left an impression on me and really just kind of set the tone for the way I looked at everything like going forward.
Yeah. When did you know that professional wrestling was going to be what you wanted to pursue?
Honestly, so I told myself like in my childhood and even as like a teenager, I'm like, I wouldn't want to do that. Like I'm fine just watching it. Like that's crazy. Like they live miserable lives realistically. Like they are on the road. They are in constant pain. They do not get to see their families. Like I want nothing to do with that. And then 2016 happened. So my father died unexpectedly. I had somebody who was a mother figure in my life die of cancer. And then I had to graduate from college and I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Like I basically just kind of felt like that, like the end of 2016 was like the apocalypse for me. And I was like, well, I can do something like super destructive or I can just kind of do something completely out there and just see if that changes things for me. I was like wrestling and why not give that a shot? So yeah, I shot an email over to the Ring of Honor dojo and off we went.
Yeah, well, you picked a fantastic school, by the way. If you're going to get into professional wrestling and you live in the Pennsylvania area, Worldwide Dojo, world famous CB Cheeseburger, whatever you want to call him, man, is a absolute class act in this business. He's absolutely fantastic at what he does. Such a nice human being, and when you walk into that school, I didn't realize what I was walking into right away because like growing up, I only watched WWE. I didn't. I refused to watch anything else. Like when I went to a buddy's house during the Monday Night Wars and he switched back and forth, I said, if you change that dial one more time, I'm going home. I'm never watching with you again. Like I refused to watch WCW. So I didn't know about ROH and the independent scene until much later. Way later, like probably like 5-6 years ago. And I just fell in love with it because the music scene, the independent music scene was became a really good thing. And then just independent anything, independent art, wrestling. And I was like, this is it's just way better to consume. But yeah, so we went to the school and I was kind of like, this is dope. This is a cool little setup. And then my buddy who is a wrestling guru was kind of like, do you know where you are right now? Like, do you know whose office that was? Do you know who probably have walked through these halls? And I was like, who? And then all the photos are there and you just kind of walk around. You're like, holy shit, this is wrestling history. Like if you're going to do it, you're doing it right by going to that place.
Yeah. So that was that same spot in Bristol, Pennsylvania, where the Worldwide Dojo is now. Yeah. So that was the Ring of Honor dojo. And it's basically like nothing really. The ring didn't leave the building. Most importantly, it's like basically all the same stuff. And yeah, Cheeseburger just basically like picked up like almost like a seamless transition into doing his own thing. And he's one of like the rare people in the business that like I've never heard a single bad thing about him. Never. He has like everyone's respect, and that's so rare. But it's because he does everything the right way. He's like the most chill individual I've ever met in my life. And he treats everyone with respect. He is nothing but nice all the time. And so like he had everyone's like, he had everyone cheering for him, like to begin with going into it. And now he's just over the years just cranked out so many good students that you see on the indies now that like his work speaks for itself.
Yeah. When someone like Jushin Thunder Liger is co-signing you, you've done something right. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy. So going into that school, how was it transitioning from a fan to like, oh, I'm taking my first bump and I'm getting ring ropes and I'm like all that stuff? How was that first, what we call the hell week, the first couple weeks?
Yeah, so it was probably the same experience you've heard from everybody else. It's like, holy shit, what did I just get myself into? Like, I had always kept myself in like just kind of good shape to begin with, because like I said, like I did track and cross country in high school, and then like I did ultimate frisbee in college and stuff like that. So cardio wise, like I never lost that. And like I'd done like weightlifting and stuff like that, but like nothing prepares you for being in the ring. Absolutely nothing. And the way that Ring of Honor did it was like you had to go through like a month of like calisthenics and like just their like Delirious's hell version of yoga for like a month before, like you had to earn your way into the ring. So that was what we did. We had to like work out on mats, just doing like the craziest shit imaginable for a month before we were allowed to actually get in the ring. And then, yeah, it's what you're describing, like taking bumps and the shock to the system that is the first couple times, hitting the ropes, which Ring of Honor and the Worldwide Dojo, those were cables. So I remember like after the first day of learning that, like the next day, I had what looked like tiger stripes on my back, but they were black and blue marks from the ropes. So, yeah, man, it's like I wouldn't call it like walking into like black and white into color like Dorothy did in Wizard of Oz. It's more like if somebody like kicked her in the back and like threw her out the door. That's more like what that was like.
Who are some of the people in your initial class, and are they still in the business?
So we had 6 people in my starting class, which they said was the most that they ever had. And that school was there since 2005, 2006. And I got there in January 2017. So that's pretty crazy. But yeah, there were 6 of us total. The only 2 of us that are actually left in the business are myself and Eli Ison.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, one of them, and then there's a third guy named we call him Sweet Sean, and he is still like he's like a key part of the Worldwide Dojo. Like anything production wise that you see, like when we do Captured Lightning or we do live shows or anything like that, like Sean is helping out in some like very instrumental way. So that's really it. And then we had there were a handful of students that came in like right before me that like weren't really in my class, but like they were still like, you know, you still get that bond with them. One of them being Ryan Mooney. He got there.
I love him to death.
Yeah, everybody does. I do too, I guess, when we're not beating the piss out of each other all over the continent.
He is so goddamn entertaining.
Oh, he's something, all right. The shit that comes out of his mouth when he's like not in a ring too, it's just
the whole joke, the whole Camp Leapfrog joke was he always begged for a belt. Give me a belt. Someone give me a belt. Give me a belt. So he comes out as a heel, or a bad guy. If you know, just I don't know who's watching and who's smart to the terminology. But he comes out for Avery Good's last match at the brewery, and that was the first time too since Camp Leapfrog. Then there to kind of really see that Camp Leapfrog roster, that like that group of roster, like the high tension roster, like that we like as a family. So we all kind of I went to that show and I was like seeing everybody again. It was so awesome seeing everybody. But Mooney comes out and I'm kind of like front row and I'm like, get him a belt, and he just like is like flipping everybody off, like not flipping him off, but like being the bad guy. And he turns around and goes, yeah, get me a belt. Another fun heckling moment that show is Devontae's comes out. And me and Devontae's bond over our fandom of Washington football. So he's a bad guy, and everyone's like, boo. I'm like, yeah, boo Devontae's. He loves the Eagles. And he just turns and goes, fuck you. It's like I told him, I made fun of his mom. Like, how dare you say I like the Eagles?
Yeah, he catches flack for that everywhere he goes, but given his demeanor and his build, people don't usually follow up with that too much.
No, yeah, you just run if he decides he's gonna get off.
Yeah, he's not the guy to mess with.
Now, how would you get, like I said, being around as long as you have since 2017? Have you ever like went to other schools to see how training goes, or like dive into a seminar somewhere else? Or like essentially what I'm saying is some wrestlers would recommend trying different schools and finding different things out. Are you in that camp, or have you experienced that?
Oh yeah. I've gone to a bunch of different schools, and I've done so many seminars over the years. I feel like there's definitely no right way there's no one right way to do it, So like everybody has a different perspective and a different way of trying stuff. And the more that you can kind of take all that and just kind of add it on to what you're doing, that's when you really start to begin to build something unique. So like early on, I spent a lot of time at the Monster Factory with Danny Cage.
It's a great place too.
Yeah, amazing school. I spent a little bit of time at the Wrestle Factory with Chikara when that was still there. I've spent some time when the Skid Row Academy was still in, I think that was Westville, New Jersey. So yeah, a handful of shows, and then seminars. Just, oh my God, I've done so many. Just in like, I had a joke with Cheeseburger because like, especially just for the Worldwide Dojo alone, like he has grabbed so many people from like the 2010s PWG roster, and I was like, can you just complete the collection? Because last year alone he did Chris Hero. He had Chris Hero there. He had Mike Bailey there. In years past, we had Chuck Taylor. And I was like, can you just keep it rolling? Because like those guys were my idols when I figured out that indie wrestling was a thing.
I've seen so many cool seminars. It sucks to say now because he recently had some allegations come out against him, but one of my favorite seminars, I used to go and just watch or help film or just kind of like as a commentator, just like just listen because I try to pull as much as I can. And Davey Richards seminar, he was essentially teaching kids how to like essentially stretch people out. Like he's like, I'm gonna teach you how to make a submission look good, but if someone gets out of line, here's how you can make it turn in, you know what I mean? And that was a cool seminar. Doc Gallows had an awesome seminar where he treated it as if like you were in WWE. Like that was a cool one I seen. Yeah, it's really neat to see those seminars kind of take place. And then there's some seminars you go to where they're just like, everyone gather on the ring and I'm gonna talk to you for 2 hours, and you're never gonna get in the ring, you're never gonna do anything. It's just pretty much a conversation.
Yeah,
and some of those are fine, I guess, but especially if you're talking to someone who has a lot of cool knowledge. But yeah, they're really neat to see. And I can imagine who Cheeseburger brings in, like you were saying, that's got to be insane. I remember Bryce was there the one time, and
yeah,
I almost went because it was one of those seminars where it's like, if you're a ref, if you want to get into production, if you want to get behind the scenes, like this is a seminar for you. And I was like, I think I was booked that day, but I wanted to go so bad because he's someone I met a couple times who's just like, to pick his brain is unbelievable.
Yeah, I've tried to, and I love how diverse that those seminars get, and like again, just people's philosophies and the way they want to go about things. Because like there are people who want to get in the ring, and unless you have like a specific agenda in mind, sometimes they get so in the weeds that I'm like, all right, was this worth my time? And then some of them where I was like, they get super specific, and I was like, this is totally worth my time. And then there's some like Chris Hero where he talked for 7 hours, and I was like, I could have sat here for another 7. This is amazing.
Yeah.
But Ian Riccaboni actually did one just on promos, and like he's a guy that if I had to point like somebody like you in the direction of somebody like that, like I'd say talk to Ian. Good God, because he has learned so much so fast. And like he was like that one seminar just did a lot to point me in the right direction as far as like what I should be doing promo wise, like when I came back to wrestling, because I didn't wrestle through like all of 2020 and like half of 2021. So yeah, just I'm always trying to get out there and learn. Basically.
When was a moment for you in ring or maybe working with somebody or like you said, a seminar where you felt like it really clicked for you as a talent?
I would say, like again, there's like in the timeline, it's kind of like when I first started, and then like COVID ruined everything for everyone. That is not a story unique to me. That is everyone. Yeah. And then like I'm just so distrusting of people that like I refuse to leave my place. Basically, Dylan stayed in Razorback Hollow until he got vaccinated. Basically, so when I came back to actually like to Camp Leapfrog, that was really my reintroduction back in everything in like 2021, like summer of 2021. That was when it really. I think that was when I finally got my feet back under me. At that point, it was somewhere in that like late 21 time frame when I realized I was having a lot of fun, and the matches were good. And just like I don't know. I don't think there was like a specific point. It was probably on like a drive home one night. I was like, damn, it's going all right, you know?
Yeah, definitely for me, Leapfrog. So I started off just with like 2 promotions, PPW and then the Sanctuary, just like commentary. And then Leapfrog, I really got to learn like Leapfrog, I went there for a while and I didn't even do commentary. I was essentially the equipment who ran commentary. Like I helped with the cameras and I helped production. I learned how to video edit. Like Leapfrog for me was huge on how to do things behind the scenes and just make shows work and learning the timing and helping people shoot promos. And it was just I wish we can get back. The pandemic sucked, but I loved that closed, no fans, just being with the talent and filming stuff like cinematically was so much fun.
It was so cool.
Yeah. And if you have never watched Camp Leapfrog, please head over to the High Tension Wrestling Network YouTube channel. Everything's there and it's all completely free. Go check it out. It's so much fucking fun. And there's matches on there that'll blow your socks off. There really are. The storylines, some of the storylines that they started there I love it. It's like my favorite time of wrestling. Yeah,
that was I was so glad to have come back under those circumstances, because like it wasn't like I didn't want to be that person that was like, oh, you were all putting in the hard work, while people were dying of COVID and stuff, and like I'm just gonna waltz back in now. Like I understood I was gonna need to earn my way back into everything, but
that's the skook in you, though.
There's probably something to be said for that. Yeah. Like I go about things a very old school way sometimes. Sometimes to my detriment, but it's the only way I know. And they really gave me they really opened the door for me to come back in and to just be a part of that environment and to contribute in any way. And like I ended up with a handful of matches, and I ended up in the Camp Athletic Commission with Dr. Ethan Wild, PhD.
Which is probably one of my favorite stables right now. Use 3 are absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, so I I got hooked up with that, and that transitioned into Wild LLC, which has just been so much fun. So yeah, it was just the timing on everything was just amazing, and I'm very thankful to have been a part of all that. I think, like Anthony said, all of that is available on High Tension Wrestling's YouTube channel, and I do highly recommend going back and looking at all that, because
yes,
there's never been anything like it. Like I'm trying to think, there's never been anything like Camp Leapfrog, and
it's special. It's so much fun.
And I think we've seen in the past 10 years, I think as social media really started to blow up and stuff like that, and people could come together and discuss wrestling more, a lot of this stuff kind of gains interest, it kind of grows in interest as time goes on, like there are wrestlers in the mid 90s that nobody gave a damn about back then. Now you have people on Twitter going, he was a wrestling god.
Yeah.
And so I think if in a couple of years, people are going to be doing that with Camp Leapfrog. They're going to look back and they're going to realize how it contributed to the business, just as far as the original ideas and the launching pad for so many special talents. And they're going to be talking the same way about it. I really do think that.
Well, I think the smart wrestling fans who have launched, it sucks the way it ended, and it's horrible that when you think about the promotion, you think of the negative things. But if you look at the roster and who came out of the Chikara era and the Northeast Pennsylvania wrestling scene and the hard work that was put into that and the character development, 85 to 90% of what you're watching on professional wrestling, whether it be WWE or AEW, is all from there. It's really ROH and the Chikara and the Northeast wrestling scene that are mostly dominating what we're watching on television right now. And the people behind the scenes that are doing some cool shit all cut their teeth in that scene and cut their teeth doing that stuff. And that next generation of the people who were trained by those people are essentially the people in Camp Leapfrog and are on the Northeast scene right now.
Yeah, it's crazy to see that timeline. Pretty much if you just go from the death of ECW, it really just kind of birthed Ring of Honor and CZW. You took the crazy technical people went to Ring of Honor, and then the crazy hardcore people went to CZW, and then they just kind of birthed this brand new, just crazy innovative style of wrestling. And then Chikara was there just right alongside them, just pushing everything forward. Which is all very cool. And the only thing I lament is the fact that that created the Philadelphia, New Jersey area that I frequent so often was such a hotbed at the time as a result. And that's no longer the case.
We're building it back though. We're building it back up.
We're getting there. It's a real pain in the ass. It would have been nice for me to, again, it would have been nice for me to just waltz on in and just kind of reap those benefits, but life is not so easy. So
I think
we're getting
Mania. I think Mania weekend is going to be a huge turning point. I think Philadelphia Mania weekend. I think people are going to see the high tensions and see some of that really hard independent work that people are putting in the scene. And I like, every year you have that one or two talent during a showcase or a collective that they're given some opportunities and they showcase. And I think that's going to be a huge thing for, like, I love the collective this year because I don't know a lot of West Coast wrestlers.
Yeah.
And I got to see a lot of people. I was like, oh, these are really, really good. And then some of our Northeast people snuck in there, like Darius Carter went in there and fucking tore it up. You know what I mean? Like, had a good weekend and stuff like that. So it's just like, I can't wait for Mania weekend for people to really see the showcase of what's out there in the Northeast wrestling scene again. I know, like, Massachusetts on down to like Virginia, it's just absolutely loaded with amazingly talented people.
Yeah, this is that whole corridor is just absolutely insane, which it's one of those things that, the old iron sharpens iron type deal. You want to be surrounded by people who are going to make you better, which I certainly have. That was a big part of why I really wanted to get trained by Ring of Honor to begin with, because just to surround myself with like world-class talent. And I did, and I learned from them, and I was taught very well. And then, like, I was thrown onto the Indies, and you're just surrounded with like the best talent, like, in the country. It's so crazy, and it's such a daunting challenge, but like, it's one I haven't backed down from yet. I'd like to think I'm holding my own, but I'm certainly I'm going to keep working my ass off, and I'm going to be right there when WrestleMania rolls into Philly.
Well, I feel like with the stable right now that you're in with High Tension, we'll plug that away because High Tension Wrestling is our home essentially. Dr. Ethan Wild has been when they had me the cards on ring announcing, I was like Ron Burgundy. I read whatever was there and I know better to say doctor, and it actually worked because he rolled in the ring, you say doctor, and then he rolled back out. I loved it. I left him to death. But yeah, I don't know, that he always was a bright spot, and I'm not throwing shade to anybody, and it's all on me. This is not his words or anybody else's, but I felt like he's never really had that person that sits with him that enhances that stable or brings that stable out. And I really think you and Luca are doing a fantastic job of making that stable like really, really powerful. And you guys work rate in the ring is unbelievable. And I look forward to seeing that stable when they're booked on cards and who you're going to put them against, and like I generally look forward to it. I like the fact that stable is essentially keeping the idea, if Camp Leapfrog were to ever come back, like that's the stable. If it's going to happen, that's a stable it's gonna revolve around, and I look forward to it.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's crazy how like fast everything clicked too, because like we really only started, we got put together for Christmas trios, and we had a lot of time that day to get to know each other. We did all four of those matches, and we got HTW chiming in right now, actually. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Singing your praises, singing the praises. Yeah.
HTW.
Chat's been amazing. If any of you have any questions you want to throw out there, please do. I like to make this, even though it is a live stream podcast, I do like to let it be interactive. So if anybody has anything to chime in or questions, please put them in. And also for the person who subscribed, Nifty, thank you so much. We're on the quest to 1K. So if anyone shares this out or subscribes or hits that thumbs up button, I appreciate you guys to death.
Yeah, please do. Please subscribe. But yeah, it's we had a lot of time that day to get to know each other, and like we all clicked like so fast. Me and Ethan know each other from training at the Worldwide Dojo anyway, but that was definitely the closest capacity that we've ever worked. And we had 4 matches that day. Mm-hmm. Like we did that prelim match, and then we went all the way to the finals. So like we were just throwing stuff together and like working as hard as we could, like from like the moment we got there until like we rolled out of the ring after that finals match. And it was just crazy how like the amount of chemistry that we had. And like factions on the indies are hard, right? Factions on the indies are so hard.
Yes and no. Once again, we're spoiled on this scene when you have factions like Wild LLC, who I think you're making a really good start. And then you have a faction who's part of the company and they travel and take storylines all over the place with the Goons. I think they're the blueprint if you're going to be an independent faction, how to make yourself get over and work on your promos and put stuff on social media for people to give a shit about.
Like, they are, without a doubt.
They are legit the blueprint of how it's done, and it just and they help each other get booked. They're there for each other as a legit support system, and they put together compelling storylines.
Yeah, you have to be as good as them if you're gonna make it work, because again, just going across the, like, if you're going to cross the Indies, like if you're trying to take that act on the road, people ain't got too much money for too much money in the purse for booking talent. And if you tell them, hey, we got 3 or 4 guys rolling in and we all want to do something, sometimes they kind of like turn their nose up at you. I'm really good friends with the guys in Primal Fear. I've known them since I started.
They're great.
Wrestling.
So good.
They've been my favorite trio, like, since I met them. And like, I have so much respect for them because they have not backed down from like making that work. Mm-hmm. They have not backed down from that. And if you talk to them, like, they'll tell you it's been such a pain in the ass to try to like get people to buy into what they are doing. And it's starting to work. Like when they got into when they started getting on Ring of Honor TV, like, people understood. But like their work is not done yet. But like, those are the examples I'm thinking of. Like, you better be as good as people like that. And you better have something really special to offer if you're gonna make that work. But somehow it's really fallen into place for us too. I think there's a handful of people out there that feel the same way you do about the group, and I'm super grateful for that, because like, we've had other people who like want to bring us in, like, and do that, like Orochi Pro, which is just getting off the ground. Like, they just put up a graphic the other day. They had all 3 of us on there. Wild LLC, like, that's a thing. And
yeah,
we didn't ask them to do that. They just did it. So
I think you're very versatile too, where you guys can go out and do a complete comedy, funny spoof bit, or you can go out there and show your work rate and show you guys are wrestlers and show that side of you too. I think you're very versatile, and you can be booked against any style of worker and put on a solid match. We do have a comment. Steve says, I may have missed it, but I always enjoy hearing Dylan's thoughts on his match with Delirious. I mean, if you want to tell me I'll listen to any Delirious story that's out there. Well, he's a nut.
Oh my God. Well,
also thank you to Caitlin.
Delirious was the head honcho. He was the head trainer when I started there. And as busy as he was, with running, doing everything for Ring of Honor and Ring of Honor TV, doing everything, he was still there so often, like, through my training. The guy just like eats, sleeps, and breathes wrestling, man.
I've yet to meet him. The one show I was supposed to meet him, there was 2 companies that I worked for, and they were booked the same day, and I was needed more on the one that he wasn't on, and I'm bummed because he worked header, and I was like, oh man, I really wanted to see that match.
Here's the thing, man. If you think that what you see like in the ring is enigmatic, it's really not that different from like when he's out of the ring. He's like, I'm not kidding. He's like a real life Gandalf. Like, he appears places. Like, I never see him walk through the door. He's just there, and then I'll turn around and he's just gone.
Yeah.
Like, so I've had that. So I kind of had that. I don't know if looming over me is the right term. That's how it felt the whole time. Like, as I started to get better, and I was like, all right, well, I think I'm ready for a match with this dude. Like, especially, as I started picking up steam, like towards like the early end of last year. And then I finally got the match. Cheeseburger had like a live show at the Worldwide Dojo, and he made it happen. I was like, no, I'm ready for this. I've been ready for this for 5 years now.
Where can people see that? Is that available?
That is on the Worldwide Dojo's YouTube page. And then I enjoyed it so much because of the result that I actually took the snippet of the match and I put it on my own YouTube channel. So if you look up Dylan Mesh, I have my own YouTube channel, which has like my promos on it and that match. But I did come away with a victory in that. And he can't take that from me. Nobody can take that from me. And that's why I plaster it everywhere in case anybody tries to take it from me. I put it on one of my dress shirts that I have in the other room that I occasionally wear to shows just so nobody forgets.
I be Delirious.
I have the Crusher.
Yeah.
Also
yeah, amazing.
So the Crusher also does Crusher's working on another shirt for me, just in case something happens to that one. I have a backup. I have it on my Twitter page.
Crush is another one that I think that people don't know enough, that what they do behind the scenes of wrestling. Like they, most people see what happens in the ring with a lot of talent, and then people don't know of like the Crusher and Kaya McKenna, of like when they're not only booked for a promotion or a company, what they're doing behind the scenes to make, like with graphics, or Crusher made the belts for Camp Leapfrog, like you know what I mean, stuff like that. Just like unsung heroes of the business. Like I love that. Like I guess coming from that production standpoint, it like every show I go to, like the people tearing up the ring and breaking down and setting it up, like I always go up and be like, "Oh, thank you." Like you're doing God's work. Like that's the stuff that people don't really take a lot of consideration to. And referees too. Referees are another one. Like they kill the game.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody has watched Camp Leapfrog, the incredibly unique wooden championship belts, those were made by Crusher. They're the coolest things in the world. Wish we could have taken them off the damn outfielders, but whatever. Maybe somewhere down the road. But yeah, and Crusher's done like how much work for me now, and that's probably going to continue. But we're surrounded by so many talented people, man.
So now that we're kind of, a couple months into the new year, and things are kind of like picking up, and I know technically the pandemic may have ended a year, but it feels like now is when it's really like this year has been the rebirth of everything. Who are some names out there, are some opportunities, are some promotions that you would love to work for, or people you want to work against?
Oh goodness. I've always been the kind of person that like my entire life I've just kind of been like, I'm down for anything, so like anytime, like any opportunity that has been thrown my way, like I've just like perked up and just like dove headfirst into it. I'm really focused, and I don't know why, but like I have this huge goal of like, I have not worked in New York yet, like NYC or upstate, like either one, and I'm like, I need to work in New York. That's
actually happening for me as well. In a couple of months. Yeah, I got booked for a show in Long Island. I've never worked New York either.
I'll talk to you later about that. So
yeah, I'll tell you what promotion it is. If you want to go for a ride, it's a Thursday night. We're going to Wrestling Is Now, the SAT and Paul Laureus promotion.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think one of them just talked to me the other day. So yeah, Dude,
I just watched Deshaun, Lindsay, and Boom Harden versus Miracle Generation and Ichiban versus SAT in a triple Lucha Rules tag match.
Oh, goodness.
It was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh goodness. You know what? Ichiban's one of them, because what a lot of people don't know is I've known that kid since he was in high school. I knew him way before he put on that mask.
If you tell me Ichiban's from like North Schuylkill, I'm gonna freak out.
No. He's from the New England area. So you talk about walking into wrestling and being in the perfect spot. That's him. Ichiban, he's such a good kid. He has 10 times the athletic ability that I do, and he has for quite some time.
Dude, Ichiban and Lindsay, when they had that one-on-one spot a couple times in the match, I was like, this is everything I wanted and more. But there you go.
Yeah,
Ichiban versus Mesh win.
Give him a call. Give his ass a call. Tell him, put your finger down, use it to dial my number, and let's make something happen.
Attention if you're watching. There's a match right there.
Give it to me. Yeah, for real. Give it to me. Yeah.
Random said in the chat, what did Tajiri do?
People have been asking that for so long, but Tajiri, he still wrestles, right? Tajiri might be another.
Bro, if I can be in the same room or call a Tajiri match, I would pop. He's been always one. I am a sucker. There's one thing in professional wrestling, if anyone ever does it, I'm an absolute sucker for. And that's when I fell in love with Masha, when she wrestled Edith in the Soviet Death Match, and she pulled out a Poison Mist. Fucking forget, dude. I love Poison Mist.
It's the best.
And the buzzsaw kick has always been my finishing move in every wrestling video game. I love the buzzsaw kick.
He is so cool. He's like another guy. If you want an example of just looking at somebody like nobody ever, like if you say like nobody ever did it like him, like that's a really good example. Like if you have a career like him where just like everything that you do is just so uniquely you, like you were a success. You know what? A real goal of mine is I really want to wrestle, and he better not retire before I get a chance to. I want to wrestle Jinsei Shinzaki, known as Hakushi, when he was in the WWF in the mid-90s. When I had, during lockdown, like when I was just sitting there just watching wrestling and just doing nothing else, man, like I like fell in love with the guy's style. And again, just the way that he carried himself. And I was like, why have not more people not talked about him? Probably because he was hanging out with Hayabusa, who like was an icon, but I don't know. Like, it's just like he's like the guy where I'm like, it needs to happen, you know? It needs to happen.
Talking about putting on masks, ask Dylan about how he went from a skinny little twig to who ran XC to the beefy man you're speaking as before you.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I will say you are, without saying the full government last name, you built like a mesh.
Yeah, it's that really ran in the genetics were not on our side, and in a couple ways that we're doing all right, but not as far as the frame goes. No, not really built for wrestling. Just I had such a fast metabolism growing up. I still do, but like I said,
I wish I'd get mine back. I used to be skinny in great shape. Yeah,
I'm waiting for it to happen to me. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But like I said, like I ran cross country and I ran track, and like that was my thing. So like that was perfect for the way that I was built. But then like when I was still like in college, like back home, I was like, well, it's wintertime and like it's like -3 all the time and this blows and like I'm not going outside. I was like, what else can I do to physically challenge myself? I was like, hit the weights, go to the gym. Yeah. So like I started that in like 2014, and then like I don't know, just kept at it. You know, it's like anything else, just kept at it. And I was 135, 140 pounds since then, and I'm now 192. So I have put on 50 pounds of muscle.
That's awesome. Good for you, man.
Then. So yeah, like if you're out there and you feel like, you know, you're built the same way, like in a way that you don't think you can, like, you know, put on any kind of mass. Not that I'm the biggest dude in the world, but the scale don't lie, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
you know who else is like in that boat that's that boat right now, where he went from like a really scrawny kid to now he's like killing it. I always say it. Jordan Oliver. That kid transformed himself. He's gonna be on TV soon. He's so fucking good.
Yeah, he's a phenom. I was on.
He's the Indy Shawn. He's the independent Shawn Michaels. He's gonna be a big deal.
I was on a handful of CZW Dojo Wars with him, and he's the nicest kid in the world. He loves being around wrestling. Deceptively tall too. I'm 6 foot and he's like 6'1".
Yeah.
And just man, like all he's ever wanted to do was wrestle. All he's done is applied himself, and it's just he's one of those people that like I see him succeeding and I'm like, good for him. Good for him. Him and everybody, him and all those kids in Young Dumb and Broke are
great stable.
Yeah, they're great. They're great.
Here's a quick question. Going back to our roots of the 570 School County. Do you remember when? Now, maybe not some of them because I was really young when they happened. I know there's a little bit of age gap between this, but do you remember when we used to have wrestling matches in the high school, at the old school high school? Did you ever go to any of those?
No, the closest that I ever heard happening to us was at Lakeside Ballroom in Barnesville.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I think some venue in Hazleton. And I could never get anybody to take me.
Yeah.
But
we in Monty area, we had a show one time where Papa Shango was there, Doink the Clown, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and King Kong Bundy were all in Monty area high school.
Oh my God.
And then I hung out with King Kong Bundy at the West End Fire Company because my dad's a firefighter. And I literally hung out and like wrestled like as a young kid King Kong Bundy for like 2 hours in the engine room of the firehouse. Like it was the coolest thing that ever happened to me.
So your dad was West End?
My dad was, well, at the time he was a humane, but they're all buddies with each other. So I was like, he kind of something that happened. And then Shenandoah had a match one time, and Jim the Anvil Neidhart was there, Tito Santana, Bam Bam Bigelow, but he wasn't calling himself Bam Bam at the time because he was just about to, I think, go over. And they had a no holds barred false count anywhere steel cage match between Abdul the Butcher and Terry Funk. And they bled everywhere, and we never had wrestling ever again in the 570.
Man,
People were horrified. They were horrified.
But I believe it because you go back to like the roots of the WWF and like they ran like all over the Northeast to the point where like those smaller towns like in PA, like they were everywhere. I remember like I saw an Indy show in Scranton in like 2014 and they had Bret Hart there and he talked about how like he wished that WWE still like ran there. And I was like, here in Scranton? Yeah. Okay. But like, yeah, it was a thing. So I believe it, man. That's crazy though.
Soho Wars. Do you know Gabe Sky or the Slime Balls?
Gabe Sky. So Gabriel Sky. I wrestled him. So
Dojo Wars, not Soho Wars. Yeah.
So the one and only appearance that I made for Beyond Wrestling, I wrestled Gabe Sky, and that was incredible. I knew right away he was a badass wrestler as well. He was a guy that really benefited from working his ass off all through 2020. And you're seeing it pay off now because he's all over the place. But I run into him all the time, and like that's another one. If we had that match again, it would be like that was a good match like the first time. It would be off the chain.
Beyond's a great company to watch. I like watching them on IWTV.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah.
Drew, who runs it, just like is so dialed in on what he wants to do and what he wants the promotion to be and what he thinks indie wrestling should be, good or bad, whether anybody like agrees with it or not. Like the idea that he knows what he wants, like it's just I have so much respect for it, and I think that's why it works as well as it does. So they're a great watch every time.
And do you know the Slime Balls?
No, never met them.
They're a fun tag team. Really fun. Definitely check them out. Dylan and I saw Snitsky at a Panther Valley High School sometime in early 2010, and that was the last match I remember in the 570. He's actually a really cool dude. I see him all the time. He's always at local block parties, and because he has a business in Hamburg. He's in better shape now than he was when he was in WWE.
I saw, dude, and his beard is like overly powerful. Like I've never seen anything like that in my life, but. Yeah, so the one time we were back home, and I don't remember what year that was, but we went to a Panther Valley football game where he was there at a stand, and I was like, "You still wrestle?" He's like, "Yeah, I have a show over at the high school like tomorrow." I was like, "I'll be there." Yeah. And I want to go and see if the card is on Cage Match or something, because I don't remember I think the only talent that I remember being there other than Snitsky was like Lance Anawai.
Yeah, he works a lot now with Alpha Junior up at Broadheadsville.
That's what I thought. I figured as much. But I remember it being a really fun show. But
I just seen him a couple weekends ago, and I said he's like, "Oh, how's the content going?" and stuff like. I should reach out and have him on the podcast, but I always get I don't know. I suck at asking people to do this. That's the worst part about this. I'm lucky enough that I'm booked for the next 3 months, but that's my only thing I got to get better at. But I said, dude, we just did a review show because we do the podcast and then we do we do the history of, or we go back and watch an old show and review it. And we reviewed WrestleMania. We inserted a random generator and it gave us WrestleMania, I think 29. And that's when Booker T and the Boogeyman wrestled. But before the match, Snitsky's sucking on Mae Young's toes backstage.
Oh my God, I remember.
And I asked him about it. He goes, that wasn't even in the plans. I was just supposed to be just rubbing her feet. And she literally, right before the camera goes, she goes, you're going to suck those toes, boy. And he goes, yes, I am, ma'am. And he said he put them right in his mouth.
Yeah, apparently that's his thing, man. That ain't for TV, man. Feet are his thing. All the power to him. All the power to him.
Yeah, he's a funny dude. Yeah, some of that backstage stuff you hear about, just fucking insane. But yeah, he's something else. Do you ever see his pro wrestling tee merchandise?
No.
It's really fucking good. He has what is it? It says Gene Snitsky Law Firm. Because here at our law firm, it's never your fault, and it's and then the one side of the scale is a baby. The other one's Gene Snitsky babysitting services or something like that. He has all these really funny adult, but pro wrestling T-shirts. You should definitely check out. It's really, really funny. I just want to point out for the first second of the stream was going live, Dylan saying hemorrhoids, and I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, we gotta have.
It is what it is.
School County bleachers, baby.
Oh God, it was just brutal.
Well, we are coming to that hour mark. If anyone has any last questions, please get them in there. I'd love to have you interact. Everyone who joined in and hung out, thank you so much. Dylan, thank you for doing this, man. It was a blast. The door is always open for you to come back and do this again. We can talk about other, everything else. If you want to join us for other content, I do the movie reviews or music or comic book or whatever you're into. We can do that as well. But yeah, man, I'm really happy we linked up on the scene. You're doing a great job, man. Like I said, I think the stable is really cool. I can't wait for it to keep blowing up. And I think you have two people around you in that stable that I'm a fan of watching them wrestle, and that's Ethan and Luca. I think they're very good. So.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me. No, this was awesome. If anybody ever has any questions for me, I'm a shameless individual. I'll answer just about anything. I'm on Twitter at Dylan Mesh. I'm on Instagram at Dylan_Mesh. And then I have shirts like this one at brainbustertees.com. Just type my name in the search bar. You'll see some stuff there.
We should do a shirt trade. I'll order one of the shirts from my site, and then you order one, and we'll shirt trade next show.
Okay. Yeah.
I like doing that. Like, how football players jerseys? Mm-hmm. Shirt trades, like I think that's a lot of fun. I think more people should do that. But let me know what size and what shirt you want and color wise.
Message you.
Maybe you get a chocolate milk shirt.
Oh, thank you.
and are you still in this? Like, where are you staying at now, without giving away your exact location?
Listen, Razorback Hollow is close enough to the school where I can get everything done, and it's close enough to back home where if something needs to be done, it will be. Let me just put it that way. So,
all right. So next show, I'm bringing you some School County Gold, maybe some iced teas and some chocolate milks, and we'll hook you up.
Hell yeah.
All right, brother. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out. We'll give it a couple more seconds here if you guys want to get anything in. Please make sure you check the links below for my guests, as well as ways you can support through the podcast. Thank you, everyone who joined in and subscribed new to the channel. A lot more content coming. Next week, interview-wise, we have Rembrandt, another really fun talent if you want to check out that interview. Then after that, Daniel Alexander. So a lot more stuff coming. I am booked currently from May through April. This is not just pizza place is the only reason he wants to go back to the school. Oh, and Frackville pizza place.
My favorite, dude. That's my favorite food on the planet, man. The
sweet sauce pizza.
They have that sweet sauce pizza. They have my heart. Oh.
All right. Good to know. I mean, it might not be fresh, but I can bring you I
don't care.
All right. I got you. I love pizza place as well. I live like 2 blocks from it. But yeah, I don't always just want to do professional wrestling interviews. I love professional wrestling interviews. That's the industry I'm in. I'm doing a lot of that, but I'm interested in anybody, man. If I love hearing the behind the scenes of any field or any work or anything like that. And I'm not afraid of any conversation. I know at one point I was going to interview OnlyFans people. Like I'm interested in any topic, music, art, small businesses. If you had an experience that you went through and you want people to know about it, this platform is open for everybody. If you search under the podcast platforms, ABJ Podcast, it's labeled under personal journals, because when you come on this podcast, this is a chapter of your life that you can go back and check out and then see how much you evolved over the years. And I want to keep that going. So thank you all so much for checking it out. 45 episodes in since October. It's crazy. It's crazy. The push, the grind is real. But yeah, the door's always open, Dylan. You ever want to come back? And I can't wait to see you very soon. Between all these promotions in the area, I think BYO, what is it called? The
BYO Wrestling.
BYO Wrestling was coming up soon. High Tension's coming up soon. Smash Master's coming up soon. So we'll see each other around.
Absolutely. I will see you down the road for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. And closing music by the Converse Kid, whose links are below as well. If you want some independent wrestling music or music for your podcast or live streams, the kid's talented. Every instrument you're hearing is all him. So hit him up. He's from the Skook as well. See you next time. We're out of here.